I'm going to continue looking around here because although I don't necessarily remember anything else which makes this area memorable for me on my previous visit, who knows? I mean, it's a nice spot. Yes, we're next to a busy road, but hopefully while I'm walking around here, I can just enjoy the atmosphere of walking around a calm place. So many names lost to history. And with the world being so, is it stupid to say global? There are people who with connections now living all over the world who 2, 3, 4 generations back could say they had family homes, family members who lived in this part of the world. There may be a moving monument, beautiful monument in the memory of the people of the Jewish community of Proskurov who perished here. I don't research every town I go to find, oh, what happened to the Jewish community. I'm sure there are plenty of other scholarly figures, people who are far more spiritually connected with the Jewish faith, who perhaps do look at this as a real raison d'etre. Nonetheless, as I'm here, I do like to dip into cemeteries in general. I do enjoy the peacefulness of it. I love attractive and interesting architecture. I'm more of a town than a country person, I suppose. Or a city person, I suppose. But at other times I feel, like we all do, there's a hankering for the peace and quiet of other places. I'm not able to see through the growth of foliage here, but I was wondering if this chap was a contemporary of Lieutenant Victor Lawrence Edwards. And here we're coming up to a very formal part of the cemetery. Ahead and to the left, it looks very much like a military cemetery, doesn't it there? Mikołaj Wikentyevich Sikora. And I might be in complete ignorance, but is he connected with the Sikora helicopters? Is he the father of the man who invented the Sikora helicopter? He could be, you know, he could be. Or an uncle. Dobry den. And just as I supposed, this does strongly resemble a military cemetery, doesn't it? From what people call the Great Patriotic War here, the fallen of 1943, 1944, names of more of the people who died in the 1940s. And a very dramatic figure here. And although he represents those who died more than 20 years later, I can't help thinking of Lieutenant Victor Lawrence Edwards. Here we have a very modern Ukrainian Orthodox church, I would imagine. Oh, the church is open today. However, there are people inside and I feel an interloper going up there, so I'm not going to upset any more of the local people. It's not my aim. I don't try to be contentious. I don't see that as being helpful, productive, or kindly to get under the skin to provoke a reaction. It wasn't what I was trying to do yesterday. It wasn't what I was trying to do in Riga, if you remember, near Riga Castle. What I'm seeing up here on the right are more military graves by the seams of things. I suspect among all these grave markers, many, it would appear, don't have names attached, are unknown soldiers. Bodies buried, but somehow their identity wasn't known precisely, so they were buried alongside their comrades. Here's a man who looks so modern, doesn't he? In this picture, I don't know if you get that sense as well, but he could be a man, a face you would see just in the street. Major Grigory Ivanovich God, my pronunciation. Vislobokov. Just 34 years old, nearly 34 years old when he died in 1945. October 1945, so close to the end of the war. This is a rather nice grave, isn't it, from 1961. Another military person. Lieutenant Konstantin Nikodimovich Drozheko. Apologies for the terrible pronunciation, as usual. We may have to concede that we're drawing a blank on the Jewish cemetery front. Something I noticed when I was in, I think it was in Uman. Not Oman, the country, but Uman, the town in central Ukraine, which, okay, well, I followed a path which locals were taking, and okay, I guess if you're a local, you know about these things. So I shall follow suit. Lucky I'm thin-ish. Oh, this might be a military site, so I better close the camera down. Yes, I'm back in the cemetery. Okay, this looks familiar. Famous name, Kuzma. Regina Kuzma, Jan Kuzma. Now, why are they famous? Why is that Kuzma a famous name? Famous Ukrainian name, Kuzma. First president of Ukraine, maybe? Or perhaps I'm imagining that. Let me know in the comments. I'm more than happy to be corrected, because usually I don't know what I'm talking about. Folks who died in the 1950s, and God, it always gets me when I see children's graves, or there's a lovely smiling face of a young woman who died when she was just 33 years old. A real person with the rest of their life ahead of them. And of course, death's always tragic, isn't it? Come on, toughen up, you silly sausage. What say could that be? A candidate for the elusive Jewish cemetery. God, I wonder what's going on up there. Somebody's done a bit of home wiring. And then some. So when in need, ask some helpful locals. a young couple who were finding me curious, walking around. And so I decided, don't want to startle them, but I'll ask them in my best pidgin, Ukrainian, Russian, if they know where the old Jewish cemetery happens to be located. And the guy told me I could either go in the direction they were going and around a bit, and I would round to the right and I would come to it, but it's better, najkrashi, if this is the best way to do it, if I follow the path around here and then go left. So I'll take that young man's advice. Don't be afraid to talk to the locals. I'm just talking to myself when I say that, because sometimes there's that bullishness. You think, no, I want to do it. I want to do it myself. I want to be able to think, yes, I found it. I overcame the odds, which is ridiculous, isn't it? But we're all like that, I think. Sometimes we want to make life more difficult for ourselves than it needs to be. And I'm coming back to where I began my journey into the cemetery. So you can see it's all very walkable. As long as you're able-bodied, you would struggle perhaps on this path if you're in a wheelchair, but elsewise it's very easily walkable. And just looking leftward to see if I can get a hint of that Jewish cemetery. But this is the better way of approaching it, he said, so I've got to trust that he knew what he was talking about, of course, and that I wouldn't find it a problem. It'll probably be all too obvious when I head down in this direction. And I'm thinking it might be that very first path on the left in about less than 100 meters. Let's see. So much for that theory, Mr. Know-it-all British man. Dumb tourist. So it's not that first turning left. Maybe it's this. Is that? No, it couldn't be an old synagogue building, could it? Don't know, but let's keep walking. Wow. This is pretty large, and it's nowhere near in my brain. I thought Google was telling me that it was located. And Bob's your auntie, just like that. Here it is. I will give in my house and within my walls a monument and a name, that sons and daughters an eternal imperishable name will I give them. Isaiah 56:5. Supported by Khmelnitskyi Regional Welfare Fund, Hesed Besht. Just came round that corner, and just as that young man advised, this is the place. Svetlo Dush Historic Museum Complex. That's an odd way of describing it, isn't it? It seems so to me in any case. I don't think I'm going to get up close to many of these markers, because it means stepping over the boundary of the footpath, and I think there's a strong chance there may be other graves which I would inadvertently step on, which I try not to do. (1888 to 1944). Khmelnitskyi. I'm amazed that it's as intact as it is. I've seen cemeteries in all kinds of conditions over the years, and you just never know what you're likely to encounter. Some preservation of broken stones here. Which might be of interest to those of you who can read Hebrew. And there we have it. It's closed off up there. So for those of you who are of the Jewish faith, who feel they've got a connection with Khmelnitskyi, it could well be that it's worth your trip coming here. If you are wondering, but will there be anything left to see? Well, I can't speak for the rest of the city. I don't know about a Jewish district which may have been preserved or not in Khmelnitskyi, but certainly as far as the old cemetery is concerned, there is one which is being maintained. It's not been totally decimated. Obviously there are a lot of broken stones. You might feel it's worth the trip. I'll leave that up to you, of course. It's on the main line between Lviv and, well, in the west of Ukraine, of course, near the Polish border, and Kiev. Khmelnitskyi, about halfway-ish. By train, so why not? If and when it suits you, whenever that may be. Thanks for joining me on today's walk around. If you've liked my little walk of discovery, feel free to like the video, and if you want to subscribe to see the next video, make sure you don't miss the next video, whatever that might be about, then feel free to subscribe. No pressure. It's just a little travel channel that I'm running here, not going anywhere. Very boring for some. If you're not interested in history, if you're not interested in the genuine day-to-day, what it's like to be sort of constant, living out of a backpack type of traveller, then you really won't find it interesting at all. If you're looking for the parties, the raves, the meeting more young, new people who are exactly like you, then this isn't really going to be of interest to you whatsoever. But for anyone else, I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.